संजुम चेयरमैन साहब भी ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं, फिर स्टार्ट करते हैं।
हाँ जी अग्रवाल साहब, सबको नमस्कार। मेरा
नमस्ते सर। नमस्कार।
नमस्कार सर।
नमस्कार डीन साहब।
नमस्कार नमस्कार
नमस्कार सर
जी
अंजुम चेयरमैन साहब भी ज्वाइन कर चुके हैं।
जी नमस्कार सर।
नमस्कार नमस्कार।
अब हम चालू कर सकते हैं अपना प्रोग्राम।
जी Namaste to India and Namaste from Deshbandhu College. It is indisputed fact that people cannot be completely free from sorrow. In the journey of life upon earth, sorrow is a first stage, Vishada Yoga. When the self is drawn into the world of its object, he experiences sorrow and suffering on the occasion of International Day of Yoga. I would like to express my grief and I would like to pay homage to all the lost lives during this pandemic. To begin with, I would like to invite Acharya Brahmdev Mukunlalji to recite few shlokas to begin today's International Day of Yoga. Acharya ji.
Om Namaste everybody and welcome. Let's sit down straight, bring our mind to focus, close the eyes gently. I'll be taking 4 mantras from the Yajurveda which relates to yoga. Om Yunjanah Prathamam Manastattvaya Savita Dhiya Agnir Jyotir Nichaya Prithivya Adya Bharat. This mantra says, one who desires bliss need to acquire knowledge about the creation and through constant practice of yoga, yam, niyam, etc., attain perfection for realization of the self, individual consciousness, Atma Sakshatkar, Prakriti matter, Prakriti Sakshatkar, and Ishvara supreme consciousness, Ishvara Sakshatkar, and accompany others on this route. Om Yunjate Manauta Yunjate Dhiyo Vipra Viprasya Brihato Viparshita Vihotra Dadeva Yuna Videka Inmahi Devasya Savito Parishtuti. In total self-control, control over the senses, the learned and wise ones yoke the mind and intelligence through yoga abhyas, the practice of yoga with the one master of wisdom who upholds all our endeavors to attain bliss. Om Yuktvaya Saveta Devan Swaryato Dhiya Divam Brihajyoti Karishyata Savita Prasavatitana. One who practices yoga and has practical knowledge of the elements of the universe rises out of the darkness of ignorance and the associated miseries. He, she shines with the brilliance of good character, deeds, and nature. Om yoge yoge tavastaram vaje havamahe sakhaya indramottaye. One who practices yoga develops friendliness towards all, with the brilliance of good character, deeds, and nature. He, she rules over the minds and hearts of all. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May all be free from Adidaivic, Adhyatmic, and Adivautic Dukh. May all be in peace, spiritual, physical, and cosmic peace. Namaste. Thank you.
धन्यवाद। योग मंत्रणा 2021 के इस सत्र में सभी का हार्दिक अभिनंदन है On the behalf of Department of Physical Education and Sports Sciences, Deshbandhu College, I would like to welcome our today's chief guest, Professor Dr. Balram Paniji. Chairman, Mr. R.N. Vats, Senior Advocate, our Honorable Principal, Shri Rajiv Agarwal ji, our Honorable Speakers, Shri Girish Jha ji, Acharya Bramdev Mukunlal ji, and Dr. Nina Budmaski. Our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Aditya Saxena, our IT team, our social media team, all the colleagues, family, friends, and students. I would like to say depression is often called the common cold of mental health problem. 1/3 of adults experience significant depression according to Mayo Clinic. Depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of anger and sadness. Kubler-Ross said, grief is a natural response to the death of loved ones. In this pandemic, we have lost not only our friends, family, colleagues, across the borders, we have lost so many lives. Healing techniques for negativity and depression through yoga and meditation. Seeing the scenario of today, it was the call for the time that we learn healing techniques to heal our weeping soul in this pandemic. युज्यते इति योगा, योग। गणित में इस शब्द का अर्थ होता है जोड़ना। आज के इस संकट काल में आइए हम सभी इस योग से जुड़ते हैं। I would like to invite a very dynamic and energetic Honorable Principal Sir, Professor Dr. Rajiv Agarwal, to address the gathering. His specialization is, he has supervised 2 MPhil and 8 doctoral theses. He is specialized in space dynamics, celestial mechanics, restricted or 3-body and 4-body problems, etc. He has written so many articles and addressed and participated in a lot of international conferences presenting his own research papers. I would like to welcome our Honorable Principal, Dr. Rajiv Agarwal. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Anjum. धन्यवाद और अच्छा इंट्रोडक्शन। सभी को नमस्कार। सभी जैसा जानते हैं, डॉक्टर अंजुम ने बताया कि एक ऐसे वक्त जिसके बारे में हम सबने इसमें योग की क्या महत्ता है आज के हमारे आप सभी का अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। देशबंधु कॉलेज यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ दिल्ली के डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ फिजिकल एजुकेशन और इंटरनल क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस सेल IQAC द्वारा आयोजित इंटरनेशनल योगा डे अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस के अवसर पर आयोजित वेबिनार योग मंत्रणा मैं आप सभी विद्वानों, छात्रों, छात्राओं, श्रोताओं का डॉक्टर राजीव अग्रवाल हार्दिक स्वागत व अभिनंदन करता हूं। आज हमारे मध्य हर्ष का विषय है। मुख्य अतिथि के रूप में हमारे डायनेमिक और हेल्पफुल प्रोफेसर बलराम पानी, डीन ऑफ कॉलेजेस, यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ दिल्ली, हमारे कॉलेज के गवर्निंग बॉडी के चेयरमैन, विजनरी एडवोकेट श्री R.N. वत्स जी, आज के कार्यक्रम के हमारे कीनोट स्पीकर्स सम्मानीय विद्वान श्री गिरीश झा जी, एरिजोना USA से, डॉक्टर नीना पोलैंड से और डॉक्टर आचार्य ब्रह्मदेव मुकुंदलाल मॉरिशस से। हमारे कार्यक्रम की संयोजिका डॉक्टर अंजुम पांड्याल, सह संयोजक डॉक्टर राजेंद्र लाल, हमारे IQAC कोऑर्डिनेटर डॉक्टर आदित्य सक्सेना और पूरी टीम का मैं अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस के अवसर पर आयोजित इस वेबिनार में हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूं। दोस्तों, जैसा हमें मालूम है, योग की विरासत हमारे भारतवर्ष के अंदर आदिकाल से, कई हजारों साल से है। योग हमारे जीवन में सकारात्मकता और ऊर्जा बनाए रखने के लिए अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण है। जैसा हम सभी जानते हैं, योग दिवस हर साल 21 जून को मनाया जाता है, जिसकी शुरुआत सबसे पहले 21 जून 2015 में की गई थी और जिसकी नींव हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने 27 सितंबर 2014 में यूएनओ में पहली बार अपनी बात रखकर की थी। इसके बाद 177 सदस्यों द्वारा इसको पारित किया गया। शायद 90 दिन के अंदर, सबसे कम समय के अंदर पहला कोई ऐसा यूएनओ का प्रस्ताव था जो यूनानिमसली पास किया गया। और जब से हर साल 21 जून को योग दिवस मनाया जाता है। हर साल इंटरनेशनल योगा डे का थीम अलग अलग होता है। हम सभी जानते हैं, हम एक पेंडेमिक महामारी से जूझ रहे हैं और उसके लिए सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी है हमें सभी को अपने घर पे रहना। इसीलिए इस बार का थीम रखा गया है, बी विद योगा बी एट होम, यानी योग के साथ रहे, घर पर रहे। दोस्तों, ज्ञान विज्ञान के क्षेत्र में भारत में पुरातन काल से ही समृद्ध परंपरा रही। ऋषियों महर्षियों का मानना था, समस्त कार्य व व्यवहार के संपादन का माध्यम है हमारा शरीर। अतः स्वस्थ एवं दीर्घायु होना अत्यंत आवश्यक है। इसी क्रम में स्वास्थ्य विज्ञान के रूप में आयुर्वेद व योग का सूत्रपात हुआ, जिसका प्रमुख लक्ष्य था स्वस्थ मनुष्य के स्वास्थ्य की रक्षा और रोगी के रोग का निवारण। योग की परंपरा को व्यवस्थित रूप देने का श्रेय आचार्य पतंजलि को जाता है, जिन्होंने अपनी पुस्तक योग सूत्र में इस विधा का डिटेल में संपूर्ण वर्णन किया है। योग का शाब्दिक अर्थ है, जैसा डॉक्टर अंजुम ने बताया, जोड़ना, समाधि और मन का संयमन, स्वयं को चेतन तत्व से जोड़कर उसमें स्थिर होना। वर्तमान परिस्थितियों को देखते हुए हम कह सकते हैं अनेक रोग हमारे मध्य विद्यमान हैं। इसके अतिरिक्त मन की अशांति से अनेक समस्याएं शरीर में रोग उत्पन्न कर रही है। ऐसे समय में योग हमारे मन, शरीर और आत्मा को नियंत्रित कर हमें शारीरिक, मानसिक, आध्यात्मिक और सामाजिक स्वास्थ्य प्रदान करता है। निरंतर योगाभ्यास ध्यान और एकाग्रता को बढ़ाता है एवं शरीर को अनुशासन में लाकर तनाव और चिंता को दूर करने में मददगार होता है। दोस्तों, गीता में मोक्ष के साधन के स्वरूप 3 मार्ग, ज्ञान योग, भक्ति योग और कर्म योग बताए गए। श्री कृष्ण कहते थे, समतत्व भाव ही योग है एवं कुशलता पूर्वक कर्म करते रहना ही योग है। अतः हमारी परंपरा में योग के सभी पक्षों पर गहन विचार मंथन देखने को मिलता है। वैसे तो हम योग या योगाभ्यास को खाली फिजिकल एक्सरसाइजेज मानते हैं। आचार्य पतंजलि द्वारा योग के 8 अंगों का वर्णन किया गया, जिसमें से 3 आसन, प्राणायाम और ध्यान आज के समय में योग के प्रचार प्रसार में सबसे ज्यादा प्रचलित है। आसनों के अभ्यास से मनुष्यों में स्थिरता आती है, उन्हें आरोग्य एवं शारीरिक स्फूर्ति प्रदान होती है। आसनों के अभ्यास से मेमोरी पावर हमारी बढ़ती है। इसी तरह प्राणायाम से, अब हमें सबको मालूम है, इस पेंडेमिक में डॉक्टर्स प्रेस्क्राइब कर रहे हैं कि प्राणायाम सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी है हमारे अस्थमा में, पोस्ट कोविड जितनी भी कॉम्प्लिकेशंस आती है उसमें, ब्लड प्रेशर्स को, इन सभी चीजों को मेंटेन करने के लिए प्राणायाम जीवनदायिनी भी कह सकते हैं। अतः योग स्वस्थ शरीर के आज साथ स्वस्थ समाज का भी निर्माण करने में सक्षम है। इन्हीं सबको ध्यान में रखते हुए हमारे फिजिकल एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट ने आज का जो विषय रखा है वो प्रासंगिक है, जिसमें मानसिक तनाव और नकारात्मक को दूर करने में योगाभ्यास किस तरह हेल्पफुल हो सकता है, यह हमारे सम्मानीय वक्तागण आपके बीच में रखेंगे। और अंत में मैं अपनी पूरी IQAC टीम, पूरे फिजिकल डिपार्टमेंट को बहुत बहुत बधाई दूंगा, विशेष रूप से हमारी डायनेमिक फिजिकल एजुकेशन टीचर डॉक्टर अंजुम पांड्याल को, जो हर साल बड़ी मेहनत करके योग दिवस पर यह कार्यक्रम आयोजित करती है। वैसे तो हम कॉलेज में करते हैं, लेकिन पेंडेमिक के कारण हमने वर्चुअल किया है। उन्हें अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस की सभी को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं और कार्यक्रम के अगले चरण के लिए अब मैं डॉक्टर अंजुम को कहता हूं अगले चरण में आए। धन्यवाद। डॉक्टर अंजुम।
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your inspiring words and appreciating us. Now, I would like to invite our Honorable Chairman, Mr. R.N. Watts. He is a senior advocate with higher education. He has a law degree from University of Delhi. He has served as a General Secretary and President of Delhi Bar Association, served as a member of Bar Council of Delhi, India. He has also served as standing councillor for Government of NCT Delhi, Delhi Police, NDMC and DTC. He is associated with Central Sanskrit University, Government of India, and he has contributed in education to serve as a chairman of governing bodies in more than dozen colleges in Delhi and states of the country, and also served as a member of the Executive Council and Finance Committee of University of Delhi. Mr. Watts is also Secretary General of All India Sanatan Dharm and All India Sanskrit Sahitya Sammelan. Sir, we would like to invite you to address this Augusta gathering.
धन्यवाद डॉक्टर अंजुम।
Thank you, sir.
मैं सर्वप्रथम आप सबको अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस की शुभकामनाएं देता हूं और हमारे महाविद्यालय की शारीरिक शिक्षा एवं खेलकूद विभाग को विशेष रूप से बधाई देता हूं कि जिनके सौजन्य से ये एक इतना अद्भुत कार्यक्रम आज अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस पर किया जा रहा है। मैं अपना वक्तव्य प्रारंभ करने से पहले हमारे दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय के डीन ऑफ कॉलेजेस और हमारे बहुत ही कर्मठ प्रोफेसर बलराम पानी जी के प्रति भी आभार व्यक्त करता हूं कि जिन्होंने अपने बहुत ही व्यस्त कार्यक्रमों में से समय निकालकर हमारे कॉलेज के इस कार्यक्रम में भाग लेकर हमारा उत्साह बढ़ाया है। मैं उनके प्रति विशेष आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। मैं अपने कॉलेज के प्राचार्य डॉक्टर राजीव अग्रवाल जी के प्रति भी धन्यवाद ज्ञापन करना जरूर से अपना कर्तव्य समझता हूं, क्योंकि वो कॉलेज के हर काम में बहुत ही रुचि से और बहुत तन्मयता से रुचि लेते हैं और हमारे शिक्षकों का, हमारे कर्मचारियों का उत्साहवर्धन करते हैं। मित्रों, योग शब्द जो है हमारे वैदिक साहित्य में एक विशेष स्थान रखता है। यहाँ पर दो बहुत विश्व स्तर के आचार्य लोग हैं, वो ये मानेंगे कि योग कोई नई चीज नहीं है। जिस तरह लोगों को एक भ्रम है कि योग कुछ पिछले 15-20 सालों से देश में चल रहा है, ऐसा बिल्कुल एक भ्रांति है। योग का हजारों साल पूर्व हमारे बहुत बड़े जितने भी ग्रंथ हैं, साहित्य है, उसमें योग का एक विशेष स्थान है। योग का किसी भी प्रकार से केवल शरीर की बाहरी तत्वों से योग का कोई किसी प्रकार का योगदान नहीं है। योग हमारी आंतरिकता और हमारी बाह्यता दोनों को मिलाकर योग उसको निखारता है। योग से हमारा मन शांत होता है, योग से हमारी शारीरिक शक्ति बढ़ती है, योग से हमारे अंदर जिस तरह के विकार होते हैं उस तरह के विकारों में रुकावट आती है। कुछ दिन पूर्व जब मेरी दूरभाष पर डॉक्टर अंजुम से बात हुई तो मैंने उनको प्रार्थना की कि क्योंकि पिछले 1.5 वर्ष से लगभग न केवल भारत में बल्कि पूरे विश्व में कोविड-19 का जो महामारी का एक फैला हुआ है, उससे लोग अपने घरों में, क्योंकि बचाव के लिए घरों में रहना जरूरी है, अपने घरों में वो ऐसे चले गए हैं कि काफी लोगों को, हमारे खासकर युवाओं को, उनको एक डिप्रेशन आ गया है। उस डिप्रेशन को खत्म करने के लिए योग एक बहुत बड़ी औषधि है। योग के द्वारा डिप्रेशन को दूर किया जा सकता है। योग के द्वारा हमारी, क्योंकि हमारे पार्क्स बंद हैं, हमारी दूसरे जिम्स बंद हैं, हमारे दूसरे और जहाँ पर जाकर हम शारीरिक कार्य करते हैं वो सब बंद है। इसलिए योग एक ऐसी विधा है जो हम अपने घर में रहकर भी, अपने कार्यस्थल पर रहकर भी योग कर सकते हैं। तो योग का महत्व, बहुत ही बड़ा महत्व है हमारे जीवन में, और योग हमारी आत्मा तक को पवित्र करता है। योग करने से हमें बहुत सारी बीमारियों से छुटकारा मिलता है और योग का महत्व हमारे दर्शन शास्त्रों में दिखाया गया है। योग, जैसे कि हमारे प्राचार्य जी ने बताया कि योग वैसे तो हजारों साल पुरातन है, लेकिन योग को अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर हमारे वर्तमान प्रधानमंत्री माननीय श्री नरेंद्र भाई दामोदर ने इसको विश्व के समक्ष उजागर किया और उनके अनुरोध पर यूएनओ ने इसे अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर योग दिवस का 21 जून को दर्जा दिया। इसलिए मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के प्रति भी बहुत आदर से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं कि उन्होंने हमारी इस पुरानी विधा को पूरे विश्व में किस तरह फैलाया। मैं क्योंकि हमें विशेष रूप से आज प्रोफेसर बलराम पानी जी को और आचार्यों को सुनना है, इसलिए मैं ज़्यादा चीज़ें इस पर ना बोलकर एक बार अंजुम जी की और उनकी सारी टीम को बधाई देता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद सर, आपके खूबसूरत शब्दों के लिए और साथ में एनकरेज करने के लिए धन्यवाद। Now, I would like to invite and introduce our chief guest, Professor Balram Pani ji, Dean of Colleges, University of Delhi. Professor Pani, previously he was the principal of Bhaskaracharya College of Applied Sciences, Delhi University. He has obtained PhD from JNU. Dr. Pani has 20 years of research and teaching experience in the field of chemistry and environmental sciences. He has attributed various books on environmental science and engineering chemistry, which have been adopted by several universities and engineering and science colleges. I would like to invite Sir to address the Augusta gathering.
Thank you, Dr. Anju.
Ji.
Very good morning to you all. And good morning to Mr. R.N. Basti, the chairperson of this college, and Professor Rajiv Agrawalji, the principal of this college, Acharya Mukul Raji, the speaker of the day, Kirisi, and other delegates, and my dear colleagues. And rightly said, means that right now, Mr. R.N. was saying that, okay, means it is the 1,000 years back, it was in India. Yes, rightly said. Means here you are celebrating that the 7th International Yoga Day. But you will never celebrate the National Yoga Day. Means this is the thing. Means we should be proud of our own culture and tradition. Means this is the, this yoga has been created by the Indians, but still then we are saying that it is an international yoga. Okay? And okay means when rightly Dr. Abdul Kalam said that means you will have to respect your own culture, your tradition. You will have to acknowledge yourself first. Then only you will improve. So that's why means right now it is our duty that okay, since yoga is coming from our sides, so we should make it global, and it is right now. So I congratulate you all and to the physical science department of your college to have such type of activities. So right now, the yoga, which is essentially a spiritual discipline and based on the extremely subtle science, which focuses on the bringing harmony between the mind and the body. And rightly, but right now, Acharya Mukulji has chanted a sloka, and that rightly said that means in the Sanskrit it is said that of yoga means it is the union of what? Means in that yoga, that sloka, it is written, clearly written, that the union of consciousness of individual will be united with the consciousness of the universe. That is the like individual chetna के साथ ऐश्वर्य की चेतना के साथ विश्व की चेतना के साथ जब जुड़ जाएंगे, then it is called the yoga. Means if you means this, whenever the union of the consciousness of individual with the consciousness of the universe, then what will be the output? Output is that philosophy means that the great Indian philosophy, Vasundhaiva Kutumbakam. क्योंकि जब हमने हमारा विश्व के साथ जोड़ेंगे तो means here in that sloka also means he has explained that whenever there is the union, then you can correlate with the man with the nature, mind with the body. Means whenever you will correlate with the man with the nature, means then only you can say that sabka kalyan और वनस्पति का कल्याण और सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्व भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् भवेत्. मतलब ये फिलोसफी वहीं से it is coming out from that union. And we are in the academic fields, means we are teaching the students. First of all, we will introduce that, okay, means what is the aim and objectives of your study, means what is the aim and objectives of the yoga. It is nothing but the self-realization to overcome all kinds of sufferings, leading to the state of the liberations and freedom. Means that is means to overcome all types of sufferings. Means right now you are only correlating with the corona. This is the corona, it is a simple one thing, but you will have to overcome all types of sufferings. Means whether it is a stress or a strain or any kind of a sorrow, means whatever way, means you can overcome through yoga. And yoga means as it is said that, okay, thousands of years back it has been developed. Means who has developed? That is the Lord Shiva. He is the Adi Yogi. Means he has developed this yoga. And his disciples, Sapta Rishi, they have taken it and spread it like anything, the whole world, so that the universe can get benefits out of it. So that is the Sapta Rishi. And right now, the Maharshi Patanjali, you can say, is the father of the modern yoga. Why he is said that the father of the modern yoga? Because he has a simple word. Because earlier, whatever it is, the 1,000 years back, it was so complicated and so difficult to practice. So nobody, means the ordinary person cannot practice it in a particular way. And Maharshi Patanjali, he has simplified and codified and explained it in such a manner so that every section, means whether any age group can practice it in a better way. So that's why he is called as the father of the modern yoga. Means that is the simplification. Means whether it is a child or the young or the old age people, because the people like, means you are saying that is the physical education. Means the people like us, means those who have already crossed 50, you cannot do the such type of exercise that you are doing. Okay, means that's why. Means what is the basic difference between the science? Means here always we are saying that, means from the starting I have told that it is the subtle science. Subtle science means there is the difference between the science and technology. Whenever there is the science, you can say that, okay, this is the possibility and this is the way you can move. Suppose for example, means the science will say that which things can fly. Only the technology, it is the aeroplane which can fly. So here in yoga, the science is saying that if you will do practice all these things, then this type of benefits will be getting. Here no equipments are required. So that's why nobody has said till now that the yoga is the science and technology. Always they are saying that it is the yoga is a science. Science means this is the possible, means no equipments are required here. So means whenever you are doing some exercise, the velocity of your blood circulation, it is increasing like anything. So at that time, whenever the velocity of the blood is increasing, the inhaling capacity is increased, means the respiration system will be very rapid. And under that condition, you are inhaling oxygen a tremendous amount. If the oxygen will be going to your body, then your blood will be purified. And the similar way, in yoga, you are saying that in the introduction, you have told that yoga and asana and meditation. Means these are three sections. Means in the yoga, means whenever you will do some things in the rapid way, means that is the yoga. And when the slow motion and deep breathing and meditation in a particular point, Okay, so whenever all these three will come together, then there will be a complete harmony of your body and mind. Okay, and whenever in the asana, somebody is saying that, okay, in a particular position, you will have to stay for 1 minute or 2-3 steps, you will have to do all these things. Means what does it mean? Means whenever there is the positioning of a point at a point, means it's strengthening. It is strengthening your body or that particular point. Means it is, for example, if you have to do some work, means before doing some work, you will have to position yourself in a particular direction so that you will do it effectively and efficiently. Because first of all, means when you are positioning yourself, means you are gaining some energy at that point, and that full energy can be utilized to get all these things. Similar way, means whenever in particular asana, you are positioning at a particular point, you are positioning yourself, means you are gaining some energy. Means whenever the body is energified, then you can do whatever you want to do. So, and always when you will say that this meditation will remove all types of negative thoughts from your mind, and it will bring the positive thoughts to your mind. And whenever there is a positive input, definitely whatever you will do, means that is the output will be positive. So this is the beauty of the yoga, asana, and meditation. So you have invited me. I am very much thankful to you all, and I am also eager to listen. Girish Jaji, means I know all about him, and Professor, that is the Mukul Raji, he also chanted everything. Means again, I congratulate you all for this 7th International Yoga Day, and thank you.
धन्यवाद सर। हमें पता लग रहा है आप ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं, आपने तब भी हमें इतना समय दिया हमारे कॉलेज के लिए, ये बहुत सौभाग्य की बात है। वंस अगेन आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक यू। ऑक्सीजन आधार प्राणा, योग में प्राण ऑक्सीजन, अभी अभी प्रोफेसर बलराम जी ने कहा। साइंस, रेस्पिरेटरी सिस्टम, मोर ऑक्सीजन, वाइटल कैपेसिटी, लंग कैपेसिटी, residual lung capacity, we all can increase this, and this is based on the physiology and sciences, so we call it yogic sciences. स्थिर सुखासनम, स्थिरता, एक भी पोज अगर 10 सेकेंड के लिए भी होल्ड करना हम शुरू करेंगे तो उसके वही बेनिफिट्स होंगे, और आप सभी वही बेनिफिट्स उसको ले सकते हैं। और इस पैंडेमिक ने हमें हेल्थ एंड हैप्पीनेस की बहुत डेफिनेशन प्रैक्टिकली समझा दी है, जिसके लिए बहुत आवश्यकता है कि अब हम आगे बढ़ें। जो नुकसान होना था वो हो चुका सबका, लेकिन आगे की जर्नी के लिए हमें प्रिपेयर रहना है, और उसके लिए हमें लड़ना है इस नेगेटिविटी से, इस डिप्रेसिंग स्टेट से। और अब हम अपने टॉपिक की तरफ चलते हैं। नाउ आई वुड लाइक टू इनवाइट माय को-कन्वीनर, Dr. Rajendra Lal. He has 15 years of teaching experience in sports and different games. He has led the university and national teams, including the Army team in official level as well as a national player. He is specialized in volleyball and athletics, and also he has completed his master's degree in yoga. Over to Dr. Rajendra Lal. Rajendra, you have to unmute. Monica, please, can you check? We can't hear Dr. Rajendra.
ईयरफोन है, फोन से ज्वाइन किया।
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear now. Great.
Okay,
Go ahead.
thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. In one of Buddha's teaching, it says, when mind is weak, situation is problem. When mind is balanced, situation is challenge. But when mind is strong, situation becomes an opportunity. So each day is a new day, which brings with itself new opportunity, new challenges, new thoughts, new strength, and new aspiration. And on such a rejuvenating note, very gracious and enthusiasm welcomes to our esteemed guest of the day, Department of Physical Education and Sports Sciences organize International Yoga Day every year by inviting global speakers and yoga practitioners across the world. Recognizing important role of yoga, this year's commemorations of the International Day of Yoga focuses on yoga for well-being. How the practice of yoga can promote the holistic health of every individual. This year, the title of webinar is Healing Technique for Negativity and Depression through Yoga Meditation. The emergence of COVID-19 is a situation of socio-economic crisis and profound psychological distress rapidly occurred worldwide. So various psychological problems and important consequences in terms of mental health, including stress, anxiety, depression, frustration, uncertainties during pandemic-related restriction continue in various forms across the world. This has highlighted the urgent needs to address the mental health dimension of the pandemic, in addition to the physical health aspects. We have with us our first speaker, Acharya Girish Jhaji from Arizona, USA. Before inviting him, I would like to read out about Girish Jhaji's brief introductions. So he has 40 plus years of experience, teaching, mentoring seekers, including diplomats, technocrats, engineers, doctors, in Eastern wisdom, which includes yoga, mantra, kundalini, mindfulness, and self-discovery aims at awakening and realizations. So he spends many years in the Himalaya and learned from many masters. And being formal education in physics, chemistry, psychology, and physiology, he learned and practiced Sri Aurobindo Yoga and his teaching, which includes Shankara, Buddha, Mahavira, Swami Lakshman Das, Sri Aurobindo, Dattatreya, Patanjali, Kapila, etc. So he was a leading teacher and program officer, yoga and meditation at Morarji Desai National Institute of Yoga for many years. At present, he is helping to groups personalize mentoring to seekers who are aspiring for awakening and realization. He has authored many books available on Amazon.com and more than 900 practices which are available on his website. I now take the immense pleasures to invite Acharya Shri Girish Jhaji. Welcome, sir.
Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Thank you. So, Dr. Anjum, how many minutes I have to speak so that I will restrict myself?
We are ready. We are ready to listen for hours and hours, but now the restriction is of 40 to 45 minutes.
Okay, 40 to 45 minutes. That's okay. So, esteemed guest, I have already heard from Dr. Anjum, Dr. Rajiv Agrawal, Dr. Rajendra Lal, Dr. Anjum, Dr. Vats. Not Dr. Vats, but everyone is a doctor. So I will restrict myself what Dr. Anjum was saying, that I should focus on grief, suffering. अंग्रेजी चलेगी, हिंदी चलेगी?
Sir, both. Bilingual.
तो ग्रीफ कहें तो 3 प्रकार की जो हमारे आध्यात्मिक, आदि भौतिक और आदि दैविक जो दुख हैं, उसी के अंदर ये जो ग्रीफ आता है। एक ड्राइवर थे जो कि एम्बुलेंस चलाते थे 25 साल तक। उसके बाद वहां से नौकरी छोड़ी तो वो कैब ड्राइवर बन गए। पहला पैसेंजर उनको मिला, पहले पैसेंजर अपना पीछे बैठे। तो थोड़ी दूर जब चलने लगे तो पैसेंजर ने उनके कंधे पर हाथ रखा। तो ड्राइवर जो है वो कांपने लगा। तो पैसेंजर ने कहा कि भाई तुम कांपते क्यों हो? पहली बार मैं ड्राइव कर रहा हूं ना। तो क्या पहली बार तुम ड्राइव कर रहे हो? नहीं, 25 साल तक मैंने मुर्दों को ड्राइव किया, तो इसीलिए कभी किसी ने मेरे कंधे पर हाथ नहीं रखा। यही कहानी है। जब मन का असंतुलन बिगड़ जाता है, मन के संस्कार हमें प्रभावित करते हैं, और उनमें से एक ग्रीफ है, उसमें एक तनाव है। There is an anxiety, there is a stress, there is a suffering, grief, all comes from the mind. इसीलिए तो कहा है मनेव मनुष्याणाम कारणम बंध मोक्षयो, अमृत बिंदु उपनिषद में बड़ा स्पष्ट है। पर उससे भी पहले एक बात कही है, मनो ही द्विविधम प्रोक्तम। मनो ही द्विविधम प्रोक्तम, अशुद्धम चैव शुद्धम, अशुद्धम काम संकल्पम, शुद्धम काम विवर्जितम। सारी कहानी जो, the entire story is about the mind. Mind is the cause of the suffering, including grief, and mind is the cause of the freedom. If we have an impure mind, problem will be there. And if we have a pure mind, that pure mind leads us to the path of Shreyas. I will cover a brief. I changed my presentation when I heard from Dr. Anjum. She talked about Vishad Yoga, the very first chapter of Gita. So there is a suffering, and then how the suffering becomes yoga. If we understand that, there will be no problem. We say Vishad Yoga. Vishad, you can say stress yoga, suffering yoga, grief yoga. So how the grief becomes yoga, how the suffering becomes yoga. So once we understand this clearly, we become Arjuna. And when we become Arjuna, Krishna is always with us. So I will just pick up small pieces of knowledge from the different texts. There is a Vivek Chudamani and Panchadashi. They are the highly revered text. It says first we have to become a human being. Among all the living creatures, a human birth is very hard to obtain. Ask yourself, do you have a choice to be a human being? You don't have a choice. It is a grace. It is a blessing. But once we have the blessing to be a human being, it is very difficult to have the fullness of a human being. I will talk about this fullness of a human being. That is what Gita talks about. And even rarer, after becoming a human being, it's rare to have a sattvic attitude, sattvic guna in my life. And once we have a sattvic guna in our life, then there are one among millions tread the path of yoga. Everyone is treading the path of yoga. It's an International Yoga Day. But I'm talking about what our masters are saying, not what I'm saying. And once we tread the path of yoga, out of which one among the millions continue, remain steady on the path of yoga, aims at self-realization, awakening. Let me take you to another way to understand it. We are seeking permanent solution from the temporary means. We are seeking permanent happiness from the temporary means. I have to think as a seeker. If I want to be a seeker, according to Gita, then I have to think that am I seeking permanent peace and happiness by temporary means, days after days, weeks after weeks, months after months, years after years, we are doing the same thing and expecting a different result. How it is possible? Am I seeking happiness? Yes. Am I seeking happiness from an object outside? Every object is constantly changing. Or I want to remove unhappiness from my life. The moment I want to remove unhappiness, I have to move the mind within. Now take some few examples of seeking permanent solution from temporary means. I talk. I have all here American groups and students. I am unhappy because I am single. So I get married. After getting married, after a few months, I become unhappy. So again, I find a solution to divorce and to marry again. What a great genius the Bill Gates is. And what he told us, told to the people, that he lived a loveless life for 27 years. How come you lived your loveless life for 27 years? Why didn't you recognize in the very first year? So his eye is already on the second woman. We are seeking a permanent solution by the temporary means. That is the first message of the Gita, which is not possible. Which is not possible. But why it happens? Ask yourself why it happens. What is life? Life is a series of experiences. Since you wake up in the morning until you sleep, we undergo a series of experiences. Are you happy listening to me? That is also your experience. Are you unhappy listening to me? That is also your experience. I will continue to speak. I was given 45 minutes. Whether you like it or whether you... You see that life is a series of experiences. Now the main problem comes, these series of experiences have likes and dislikes. And the moment we have likes and dislikes, it gathers the momentum of the mind. It creates a thought pattern and the mind becomes impure. Manohi dividham proktam. Mind is of two types. Ashuddham kama sankalpam, shuddham kama viparjita. What should I do then? Temporary solution by temporary means. Temporary solution to permanent happiness is not possible. Now pay attention. If you are listening attentively, temporary solutions is possible. That is the path of prayers. This is we have to understand. Permanent solution is the path of the Shreyas. Shreya and prayer. But how to allow the mind to settle in Shreyas? Next question comes. How to settle? How to settle? I'm talking about Vishad Yoga. How Vishad becomes yoga. The moment you understand how Vishad becomes yoga, the journey to the real yoga begins. Then ultimately, you will not rest until you discover permanent happiness in your life. So Shreya and prayer. Shreyas and prayers. Prayers means what I like, what is pleasant to me, and Shreyas means what is right and good. What is right and good? Definition: Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. What is all pervading, that never changes, that remains eternal, is what is right and good. But before that, we have to understand why the mind is not listening. Mind has emotions, feelings, habits, impulses. When we succumb to our feeling emotions, including grief, when we are guided by them, intellect hides behind. We cannot take a right decision. Are you getting it? If mind is stronger than intellect, we start blaming, complaining, reacting, even cursing God. Why you have taken away my near and dear ones? We have stopped thinking. But as a human being, our intellect can take over it. We have a choice. Second chapter of Gita talks about Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi means intellect. I believe we all have our intellect intact. But it hides behind when the mind succumbs to our feeling, emotions, including the grief. But as a human being, our intellect can take over it. If it takes over by knowledge, if it allows, intellect allows the mind to follow the path of the Shreyas, you are on the path of yoga. You are Arjuna. You are a seeker. You enter into the second chapter. Mind at default, it has come from the animal kingdom. We all know, even from the science and the yoga, it evolved. But this mind continues to live with the likes and dislikes, feeling, emotions, and the instincts. Only the intellect is able to take over. If the intellect does not take over, see the example of Arjuna and Duryodhana. Duryodhana told Krishna, don't teach me. I know what is right and good. Duryodhana told Krishna when Krishna went to Duryodhana, don't teach me what is right and good. Don't teach me what I have to do, what I have not to do. I don't feel like doing it. From where that statement comes? From the mind. And there Arjuna said, Krishna, guide me. You know, sometimes how many of you feel helpless? The moment you seek, you say, I'm helpless, it is the mind. And the intellect said, okay, I'm helpless, let me seek help. Well, if I'm helpless, let me seek help. I'm simplifying Gita. So Arjuna said, let me seek help, I'm helpless. Guide me in this situation. Intellect. Keep intellect alive. First message in the first chapter of Vishal Yoga. So the moment I seek help, I make my intellect alive. And the moment I make my intellect alive, I start the journey of yoga. First thing is the Shreyas. But I think, I don't want to be personal, but very straightforward. What Guru, my Guru, Swami Lakshman Das Avadhutji in the Himalayas, I was there, I was associated, learned from him for 26 years. So I want to share a personal experience which aligns with the problem of grief and the suffering. That changed my entire life. Never allow your intellect to become blind. That was the first message from my master. Blind, who makes the blind? Mind. You see, the entire literature of yoga says mind is impure, mind has 5 subjective states, mudha, kshipta, and vikshipta. If you cannot get rid of these 3 subjective states of the mind, you cannot enter into the path of yoga. So anyhow, so I never thought, master taught me great thing. I said, no, this is what he's saying. Never allow intellect to become blind. It was almost in 1985. I used to go to him. 5 years passed. Then came a blow in my life. My grandfather died. I used to play chess with him. I was deeply attached to him. 85 years. So for every problem, I used to run to my master. I said, I started crying and I said, my grandfather died. He was closing his eyes. He said, when you stop crying, then I will guide you. It was a reality. It was a fact. I'm telling you the real story of myself. So when I stopped crying, he said, go back to Delhi, perform all the rituals, then come back to me. Never allow your intellect to become blind. That was his message. Anyhow, it happened in 1989 or 90, if I remember. So anyhow, I calmed down, I performed all the rituals. Next year, my father died. Real story. I'm telling you the real story. So I had to run away. There is only one solution for me, my master. He said, when you stop crying, then I will tell you a story and never make your intellect blind. Make your intellect alive. Put your intellect in front of the mind. Suffering, blame, complaint, reaction lives in the mind. The moment you allow the intellect to take over, you are able to separate. Shreyas. Do you know what process known as? It is known as Purushartha Viveka. Heyam Dukham Anagatam. Viveka. Anyhow, because I loved my master, I always heard all his commands. I went back, performed all the rituals, went back again. He told me the story that I'm going to share with you later. 91, my uncle died. Real. So again, And while going to the Rishikesh, my mind was thinking that my master will say the same stuff, crazy stuff. Oh, keep your intellect alive. I was thinking, but very thinking minimizes that grief. And with the story that he told me. Anyhow, I went there, cried, same thing, same stuff. He told me, go back, perform your rituals. 92, my older brother died. And every time, if I'm helpless, I must seek help from the wise people. That is the message of the first chapter of the Gita. Vishad becomes Vishad Yoga when I use my intellect. So almost 4 people died. I returned. Everything was okay. You see, I became the oldest in the family. Acharya Brahmadevji, I became the oldest in the family. And my, older ladies came to my house in Delhi. They said, there is a bad omen on your family. You have to perform a lot of rituals. It's a real story. I'm telling you this, what happened in my life. I was already having a grief and they are scaring me that you are going to die next year. That is why they suggested me to perform a lot of rituals. Thanks to Gurudev, not even to the God, that I'm still alive. 1994 and 5. I said, I'm not going to listen to you old women. Now I'm also old. So I said, I'm not going to listen. I'm going to listen to my master only. If I'm helpless, I must seek help. Yoga is always there to help us. So that is how the Vishad becomes Vishad Yoga. I gave an example of Arjuna and Duryodhana. So Gurudev teaching changed my life. If the intellect took over the mind lives in impurity and purity. And when the mind starts listening to the intellect, means what? There is only 2 choices. Either the mind is working on me or I am working on the mind. If I am working on the mind, I follow the path of the Shreyas. I will definitely listen to what yoga says. It becomes, So anyhow, Arjuna was guided in the first chapter. Arjuna started, having all the symptoms, not only of anxiety, depression. His Gandhi Dhanusha also fell from his shoulder. You can depict a clear picture. A psychiatrist will depict a clear picture of Arjuna. He's having a anxiety, short breath, shivering, everything. But he was mentally feeling helpless. He said, Krishna, guide me. So in the middle of the Gita, second chapter, when Krishna explained that when your intellect takes over the mind, you follow the path of the Shreyas, that is the guidance one should give in the times of the grief. Secondary practices are there. You breathe right and left. Okay, you breathe right and left, but still your grief is still there at the mental level. If you do not understand, nothing is going to happen. For removing the ignorance, you need a knowledge. For increasing the oxygen capacity, you have to do the pranayama. But by increasing the capacity of oxygen, can you remove grief? That is the question. That is what our Eastern wisdom is. So Arjuna at last, now, can you say that Krishna tricked Arjuna? Tricked in a right way. Follow the path of the Shreyas. In case of a depression. And then Arjuna came. He became a seeker. In the second chapter, Anjum, you talked about Vishad Yoga, so it came to my mind that I must talk about this only. So Arjuna asked Krishna, Sthita Pragyasya ka bhasha. He is asking how to settle in the intellect. When the intellect is settled in the wisdom, 90% of your grief is gone. But what was the story my master told me? That is a very famous story in Buddhism. But first, let me complete that story, and then I will come to how the steady, if you make the intellect steady, your grief is over. Depression is gone. That is the power of the Gita. Anyhow, my master, every time he told me the same story, I said, I have heard it. He said, you have to listen to it again. You are my student. Avdhut, Brahmadev, you know Avdhut. Avdhut have different temperament. He said one mother came to Buddha. Her young boy died. And mother asked Buddha to make his son alive. Buddha said, I will do it with one condition. Go to every villager, knock the door, ask them, if there is no one died in their family, I will make your son alive. You see, mind taking over, intellect taking over the mind. You cannot directly say that who is born has to die. That he talked in later chapters. You see the beauty, the wisdom of the Krishna. And she went all the villagers. In the meantime, your intellect has taken over the mind. So she told Buddha that I did not find any family. Then Buddha said, who is born has to die. It depends on a lot of things, Once who is aware of the literature, a past impression, because of the past impression, we are given this body, we have to exhaust all the karma. So I'm not going there into that. Coming back now, if we settle into intellect, that is the word used by the Gita, Vyasa, used by the Vyasa, Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna, intellect is steady. Where the intellect has to become steady? So Arjuna is asking, Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha. Samadhistasya Keshava Sthita Dhi kim prabhashet kim asit vrajit kim. How this man of steady wisdom speaks, talks, lives, works in the world. That was his question. So there are two types of people who are not settled in the steady wisdom. Mind is working on them. A little pain becomes a great pain. Even if I don't like my father who died, I cry outwardly, but I don't think inwardly. I'm not going there. Just you can sthita prajnasya ka bhasha. How he lives, how he talks. That is what he named. What he named? As Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi over the mind. Always remember this. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parth manogatan atmani eva atmana tushtah sthit prajna tada uchyati. Such a beautiful way to get rid of all the three kinds of the suffering I have to awaken to the intellect. Sometime I have read at least 20 times and still I am a very child to the Gita. I have yet to understand the very essence of it. So every time I study, I get something new. Something new. So simple translation of it is Atmani eva atmana tushtah sthita prajna tada uchyate. If the intellect is settled in the real self, that is known as sthita prajna. If I simplify it, where my intellect is settled? Intellect is settled in the money outside. It does not mean we should not earn money. I'm also doing it. I'm a professional here in US. But if the intellect is settled in money, money is a temporary means seeking a permanent solution. That is why I started with it. I am seeking happiness from my honey. You know honey? In US, we always say honey. Even to the dog, we sometimes say honey. Honey is a common word. Acharya Brahmdevji knows. We say everyone. You see, if I'm seeking happiness from my husband and a wife, intellect is dictated by the mind and seeking happiness there where it is not. What Gita Krishna is saying, intellect is settled in the real self. Where is the real self? Is it outside or inside? It is inside. What we need to do, we need to meditate to reveal the real nature. Now I'm translating the second line first. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha sthita prajna tada uchyate. Arjun, listen to me. This is, are you settled in your real self? You are settled in your Bhishma Pitama, Dhritarashtra who cheated you, and a long list. And a long list. If the intellect is dictated by objects that are changing, you will repeat the grief in your life as many times as possible. But if the intellect is settled in the real self, it asks the mind to move within. That begins the journey of the self-discovery. What are the characteristics of a sthita prajna, steady wisdom in thinking, in walking, living in day-to-day life? What he thinks of the people. He does not abuse or react if he meets people with a bad or wrong intention. If something happens in the life, after many years, my master told me that this is what, from the Gita I taught you. I said, you should have told me before. You should not have understood. Your level of your level of impurity was too much. That is why I told you to go back and perform the ritual. That is a part of karma. Karma yoga purifies your mind. It's a little, not a tricky, but it's a very simple. He does not give. So you see, when prajna is steady in the real self, I'm satisfied with myself. Something came to my mind. We go to the restroom in the morning and we clean our bowels completely. Oh, what a satisfaction. So we get satisfaction by many means. We eat the food that we like and we are satisfied. We have many assets, including the bank account. We are satisfied. Huh? So you might have heard about 3 words. Rati, Trapti, Tushti. We are caught by the mind in Rati, Tripti, and Tushti in the world outside. From where I started, I am seeking a permanent solution by a temporary means outside in the world. So I feel I will be satisfied if I have $1 million. Young boys, they feel they will be happy if they marry Miss Universe. That is what Rati is. I'm not explaining the 3 types of satisfaction: by eating the food, by having the physical and sensual pleasure, and tushti means by accumulating the wealth of different kinds. So where the mind is outside. Tell me anything in the world that is permanent. There is nothing that is permanent. I'm seeking permanent happiness with temporary objects, people, things in the world. You will definitely suffer from grief. There is no end. Until the intellect should take over the mind. So now the problem comes. Mind is carried away by likes and dislikes. So I'm going to the 5th chapter. 5th chapter, what he says: who gets out of the grief, suffering, stress? Kam krodho krodhat bhavam vegam sayuktah sa sukhi naraha. In the 5th chapter, it's a 23rd verse. What he says, Krishna says that the intensity in the mind about desire, about anger, if that intensity drops down, you get out of the suffering. You minimize the impact of something. Shakto niti haiva yah sodhum prakshari vimokshanat krodh kam krodho krodhat bhavam vegam sayukta sa sukhi nara. So now from the grief we came to the mind, impure mind, and the impure mind is full of likes and dislikes. And because of likes and dislikes, we have anger, we have desire. Now, how to neutralize likes and dislikes, pain and the pleasure? First, take up the desire. We have a binding desire, we have an unbinding desire. Just for the sake of understanding, what is binding desire? Mind has an intensity. I must have this car. I must live with this. So that must comes from the mind. Going to the Rati, Trapti, and Tushti. Do you see? I'm linking everything. Mind is moving to what will happen to me. Think of our dear Bill Gates. He's such a great genius. He did a lot of great things for the world. He contributed a lot for malaria eradication program. Acharya Brahmadevji, you will agree that he did not practice yoga. That's why he lived loveless life for 27 years with Melinda Gates. What kind of a genius you are? Come on. What kind of a genius you are? I love him. I always read his Bill Gates notes. I'm a fan of him. he is seeking a loveful life from another person who is also temporary. Rati changes. That is how we have to use our intellect to understand and applying these principles. So that is a binding desire. So we can keep unbinding desire. There is no problem. I want to discover myself. I will practice meditation every day. I will change my mind every day. Unbinding desire. Gita talks about both. Binding means desire makes me upset. Gita uses the word here, vega. Vegam sayuktaha sa sukhi naraha. We need to be free from the intensity of attachment that forces me to possess an object to be happy. Are you understanding that point? So binding desire causes likes and dislikes, pain and the pleasure. How to neutralize, minimize the impact of binding desire? Simple way, convert desires from binding to unbinding. Last point that I will cover, then I will bring an end. First step is to resolve that I will follow the path of Shreyas. I will not seek permanent solution by temporary means. I will not seek happiness from the world outside. It is not there. It is only a projection that causes the impurity. First step. And these desires are including that causes the grief and the depression. You can divide into three categories: mild, intense, and extreme. The mild desire can easily be dropped. Intense desire about food, shelter can be fulfilled. Now I want to eat there, okay, eat this. But extreme desire should be dealt with buddhi yoga, purusharth viveka. If there is no purusharth viveka, we cannot do it. All desires do viveka. Viveka means buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga means intellect should take over the mind. Mind should not follow the path of priya. What is priya? What I like and what is pleasant, that will give me a permanent happiness. That is not giving me a permanent happiness. I should realize it. Last point is very important. Do I want an object for security? Or do I want freedom from insecurity? That is one of the greatest messages of the Gita. Are you getting it? Do I want an object for enjoyment, for happiness, for rati, tushti and tripti? Say, let me translate. Do I want an object for happiness? Or do I want freedom from unhappiness? If I want freedom from unhappiness, I have to follow the path of yoga. I am unhappy. Seek freedom from unhappiness in the mind, or seek an object for happiness. That is what our dear Bill Gates is doing. I'm done with you, Melinda Gates. So I'm going for another woman. Now, I'm giving his example to make the thing simpler. I don't mean to. He is a genius. I am stressed. I am in grief. Seek freedom from grief or stress, or seek an object or a person or a place to manage my stress. That is the meaning. I have to transcend the stress, or I have to manage my stress. I hate you. I loved you. Now I hate you. Now I will love another person. I hate a third person. The journey continues like this, and then there is no end to the suffering. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I should take a pause now. Acharya ji also has to speak.
Thank you very much, Acharya ji, for your word of wisdom. In a very simple term, you have made it very simple for the participants to understand how we can try to make the best of coming out in worst situation.
I believe nobody will forget the example of Bill Gates.
Sure.
He has won $27 billion and unhappy. That is the point. No, please continue. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So, how we can try to make the best of this situation, those situations, taking a cue from your words that disconnection with ourselves, our body and mind in this connected world is one of the reasons why we are unhappy, sad, sick, and depressed. As quotes in the Buddha's teaching, that do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment. So we cannot heal without cultivating mindfulness. We cannot grow emotionally or spiritually without mindfulness. As mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, yoga is the journey of the self, through the self, and to the self. So thank you very much, Acharya ji, once again for enlightening us.
Yeah.
Now, before inviting our next speakers, when any of our mind's files become corrupt with suffering state, we get hampered and cut up the whole system and make it crash. The bug emotion spread into every other relationship and leads to total depression. And every suffering state can become bug that can corrupt the system of mind. So we need to repair this situation immediately before the whole mind system crashes. To uninstall suffering program from mind, it needs a greater power or a meditations. Now I would like to invite our next speaker, Dr. Nina Budziskova, the Department of Indology, University of Wrocław, Poland.
डॉक्टर राजेंद्र, आचार्य जी पहले बोलेंगे, नीना जी को थर्ड स्पीकर है हमारे.
अच्छा, ठीक.
जी,
Okay,
जी.
Okay. So, Acharya ji, welcome. I would like to read out the brief bio of Mukullal Acharya ji, and he's collaborating with the Hindu Center of Atlanta, US, and Arya Pratinidhi Sabha, America, to promote the yoga and meditations for a holistic approach to physical, spiritual, and social wellness. He is a project manager, preacher, and a trainer in Vedic philosophy, yoga, and meditations at Arya Sabha, Mauritius. And he's the consultant in industries, and his specializations is in financial services sectors, banking, and asset finance. He practices yoga, exercises, meditations, and the universal values, ethics for physical, spiritual, and social well-being. And he is the facilitator at seminar and workshop on the universal values of yoga philosophy and their practical application in daily life. So other specialization in traditional medicine, medicinal herbs, and connect with the natures, the powerhouse of wellness. So he is going to tell us about the holistic approach to wellness through yoga. So Acharya ji, I now take this immense pleasure to invite you to take the stage. Acharya ji, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, that's good. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So namaste, everybody, and welcome. Let's sit down, bring our mind to focus, close the eyes gently, totally relaxed with the body straight. Deep inhale and exhale, just be aware of the breathing process, the air flowing in and out of the nostrils. Then we'll do Om Jap, the universal sound. And while chanting Om, just focus on your own chanting. Be present with the chanting and sense the vibrations moving through the body. Om. 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 Join the palms together, rub them. Cover the eyes, slowly open the eyes below the palms. Keep the focus. Welcome everybody and namaste. In these times of the pandemic, we see that namaste has come global. So no need to say good morning to those in the east and good evening in those in the west of this world. Dr. Girish Ji did a beautiful expose. I think that was one way of showing us the meaning of yoga by connecting knowledge to real life situations. I'll go in the same flow. The topic, the theme of this conference is Yoga Mantrana. Mantrana from the word of mantra, which is a thought and to which we have to delve into it and look for the understanding. And from that onwards, we'll start again with a question. Born as a child, we depend on our parents. When we start walking, we are told to be careful. Start running to be more careful again in life. Then we are sent to schools, we are told to study well, to get good results, get a good job, be successful in life, be rich. Still no satisfaction. We say, okay, we get married. Then we say the next level of satisfaction is by getting kids. After that, the next satisfaction level is children's marriage. Children are set in their career, then get them married. Still, we are with the desires, attached to the desires, we want to see the face of our grandchildren. And even then, when the time comes to depart this world, we are not satisfied 100%. So there's a question there, why we can't satisfy ourselves? Just Just give me 1 minute. I see the screen is frozen. I will again start sharing again. Just give me 1 minute, please. That's good. So yoga for well-being, for holistic approach to wellness within the times of the COVID pandemic around. Yoga has assumed greatest significance in this world. Why? Because we've been running our life all around chasing temporary pleasures. And COVID was a reminder from nature. Yoga is as old as humanity. I gave you the example at the start. The word yoga comes from the Vedas, which are the revelation to mankind, to human beings at the creation. And going into that, one step ahead again, yoga, to yoke, to join, to unite. Looking at the common yoga protocol, it says yoga has the ability to change our perspectives of life. Then therapeutic approaches and principles representing the essence of a holistic dimension to health and disease. And what is disease? This is when we are not at ease. It can be physical, mental, moral, spiritual, social, whatever level we may feel the things. Yoga facilitates coordination of mind, body, and spirit, emotional level-headedness, balance, intellectual clarity, and insight. Yoga, the invaluable gift from the ancient Indian tradition. Harmony between man, nature, and a holistic approach to well-being. If we look into the definition of wellness from the WHO, it says physical, mental, social health. But within the Hindu philosophy, when we say about mental, it's also the moral, the spiritual aspect of it. What is yoga? Yoga chitta vritti nirodha, as defined by Maharshi Patanjali in the Yoga Darshan, the authoritative scripture of yoga. Seizing the fluctuations of the mind. I'll add to it the emotional fluctuations. And that is to be practiced by ourselves. If we don't walk the baby steps on the way, we'll never reach that attention. And we do it every day. When we are watching TV or watching a movie or looking at our mobiles, we are one-pointed focus. As we say, if a bomb explodes by our side, probably we won't be able to listen to that. That much we are engrossed in that. So we've given a halt to all other thoughts and emotions. It's the same thing, one-pointed focus. To look within the self, the journey for the self, within the self, and towards the self. Yoga, as Maharshi Patanjali puts it, the Ashtanga Yoga, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. Always starts with discipline. Yoga Anushasan hai. It cannot be licentiousness. Discipline, moderation in life, then we'll grow on the circle. But be careful when we reach the top of that samadhi, if we're not careful, we may slip down and we have to restart again. And that is clear in the Yoga Darshan, in the Yoga Sutras of Maharishi Patanjali. Generally, when we become to that level, we are either temptations are brought to us, and if we are not careful, we may fall into them, as we say, the banana peels. So we have to be careful. It's like, well, for those who believe in the cycle of birth and death, if we don't break into that cycle through yoga and samadhi to attain that eternal bliss of God, we'll then be reborn and we'll have to again start by going to school, learning A to Z, learning 1 to 3, starting from 0. So if we really want to be that, just go with the mantras in yoga. Dukkon se chotana, sukh ki prapti. First, dukkon se chotana. As Professor Girish had rightly said, free yourselves from pains and sorrows. What will be left is happiness. The COVID lockdowns, unfortunately, were reminders from nature not to go outside, go inside. But did we use that time effectively? If we had some self-control, some time dedicated to inspirational learning, inspirational reading, we would have easily solved this problem. The non-respect of sanitary norms was non-compliance to Soch in Niyama. Then if we look at the shortages that were there, food, medication, oxygen, just because of hoarding, profiteering, that is making the most out of the dire situation, detrimental to common welfare. And we are talking today, last year also we talked about yoga. We need to be yogis now in this world, not when the feet are turned towards the cemetery, nor in the caves. And aparigraha, we would have not had recourse to hoarding, and asteya, that is non-stealing, we wouldn't have recourse to profiteering, making money on the sufferings of people. Then another point in life, which would have probably resolved our mental health issues. Santosh, be content. We are leading a life to please others, or living a life what others would say on what I am wearing, the way I'm dressed, the car I'm driving, the house I'm staying in. So that brings us to the state of, instead of being happy for the things that we have, we lead a life where we are unhappy for the things that we don't have, especially for the things that our friends and neighbors have and we don't have. So the simple words of yoga, if we would have translated that in life, we would have been really happy. COVID also told us about the essentials to live a decent life are very few. Still, we are chasing. When the lockdowns were removed, we started running again. Life is transient. We may die anytime. So the moment to act is now. Tomorrow never comes. We need a review of our lifestyles. From the gluttony, from the licentiousness to moderation. And that is yoga. Yoga is empowering. Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Realize the true self as the commander-in-chief of this chariot of life. And the beauty of it, I would again come back to the picture which we usually hang on our walls. Sri Krishna driving the chariot as the charioteer of Arjun. Arjun surrendered himself to the knowledge of Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna just became the charioteer guiding him to victory. And what was Krishna there doing on the battlefield when Arjun laid down the arms? Just gave him knowledge. Arjun surrendered himself to that knowledge. And with that knowledge, he engaged into karma. And from karma dedicated to the cause of dharma, he emerged victorious. So it was a combination of Shuddha Dhyan, Shuddha Karma, and Shuddha Upasana. Yoga is empowering, telling us to move away from Vitti Sarupyam Ittaratra, the usual muddled pattern where we confound our emotions, our feelings with our own self. The feelings, the emotions affect the body. If we rise above that, we'll be able to manage our mental health. Like when we eat good food, it's nourishing for the body, but nothing goes to the soul. It tells us not to muddle the situation, to look at the clarity of the situation, as we say in Mandan management. Step out, think out of the box. Yoga saves us from the consequences. Dr. Jha rightly pointed out the 5 states of mind, the fluctuations, vritte panchataya klishta aklishta. If we remove the klishta one, those causing pain and sufferings, then we'll be able to manage in the aklisht, that is the stable situation. And for that, it says, Abhyas Vairagya Bham Tan Nirodha. Abhyas, regular practice. Vairagya, the state of detachment, the sense of detachment, selflessness, that is going to bring us to that Nirodha Avastha, where we'll be able to put a halt to the fluctuations and see clear water. Just the example is when you have a bucket of water, it's the water, the surface is stable, you can see your face there. But if the surface has ripples, you can't see your own image. It's all muddled. Then to come back again, tatra sthito yatno abhyasaha, to bring that sthiti, that steadiness, we need constant efforts. Constant efforts, and the Yoga Sutra tells us, sa to dirkala nairantara satkara sevito drirgumi. In simple language, practice makes perfect. But perfect practice makes perfect to the square. Let's look at those athletes in the Olympics. They practice morning, day, afternoon, 365 days all around the year. To run probably for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, like Usain Bolt, to get the gold medal. Or to go in a fight, to go in a competition. The longest probably will be the marathons lasting for 1 hour or 2 hours. But still the regular practice should be there. So we need to take the baby steps towards our practice. Be regular. Be constant over a long period of time and do it with lots of devotion, dedication. Yoga also, the yoga philosophy is so deep that it even hints to us the hurdles to progress in whatever be the field of life. Vyadhistyan sanchay pramada alasya virati Bhranti darshanat alabdha bhumi katvat anavastitani chitta vikshepa antaraya. Sickness, playing truant, doubt, laziness, unwillingness, procrastination, attachment, incomplete knowledge, or willingness, no absence of willingness to pursue our goals, or when we've reached certain targets, we say, okay, we need not practice, we've reached that, and the next time we have to start from scratch. These are the disturbances of the mind, and it applies not only to yoga, it applies to all the aspects of life. Just like the previous sutra says, the constant practice, even for cooking food or for cleaning the house, we need constant practice. For those who've tried cooking, the first time we cooked rice, so it went either a bit hard or a bit too soft or glowish. We had to try probably 10, 20 times to get the desired results. So yoga also is like this, whether it's be Hatha Yoga, the bundle of physical exercises and breathing exercises, whether it's yoga on the path of steadying the mind. It's all there. We need to understand. Reading a bit of this philosophy will tell us, will avoid us, will save us the time to learn the pitfalls in practical life, because when we know the theory, we know where we should be cautious. Then it says, Dukha dharmanasyangame jayatva shras prashras vikshepa sahabhuva. Now the symptoms: grief, dukkha, dormanasya, post-failure irritation, angame jayatva, trembling, shaking of the limbs, swash prashwas vikshepa, irregularity of breathing. So when we have these symptoms, just give a pause to our thoughts. Let's take a break and rethink, review our strategies. And we'll come to the beauty of life, how to deal with life, especially with people around. We are living in this world. We are not living in the caves. No, we are living on the mountain tops. Maitri karuna mudita upekshanam sukha dukha punya punya vishanam bhavana tashchitta prasadanam. So we link Maitri with Sukh, friendship with people who are happy. I give the example always. If we are standing like a candle to burn by seeing others happy, we are not doing anything but making ourselves shorter. So let's be friendly toward those who are happy. We'll learn the way on how to be happy. Karuna towards those who are suffering dukkha. Compassion, because that unfolds the human values of human life within us. Tomorrow the situation may reverse. We may be in pain and suffering. So we'll have a support to guide us how to move out of the suffering. Then mudita is be happy with people who are grown up on the path of righteousness and who have abundance in life. Because there are lots to learn there also. Then towards the wicked, the cruel, just be indifferent, upeksha towards the apunya. And the result of that with be chit prasadanam. It's the happiness at the level of the mind. And with that knowledge, it shows us the way forward. Vishoka va jyotishmati. With that knowledge applied in daily life, we'll move out of pains and sufferings with the luster of happiness in our personality. The way forward is to practice the 4 pranayams that Maharshi Patanjali has given. Bahya Abhyantar Stambriti Bahya Abhyantara Vishayakshepi, to steady the mind. The other pranayams in Hatha Yoga are good for health, but that also, as Professor Jha said, to be practiced with full mindfulness awareness. And these require much more awareness. Bahya pranayam, breathe in gradually, slowly, deep inhale, and then breathe out rapidly. Retain the breath outside. And when we retain the breath outside, there comes a situation our focus is on the retention of the breath. So we start cutting off from the outside world. Abhyantar pranayam is retaining the breath inside after deep inhale. There also, we either retain the breath outside or inside till we start feeling the level of discomfort. Then we start, if it's bahya, we start breathing in gradually. If it's abhyantar, we start breathing out gradually. And this gives us the tools to be focused and as well as activate, balance the various energy levels in the body. Stambriti is simple. It's just as good as we stop the breath where we are, whether we are inhaling or exhaling. And Bahya Abhyantar Vishayakshepi, this is quite, after long practice again, after practice of the free, it's when we are inhaling, we just exhale slightly, then stop there, and then gradually, slowly again, we start to inhale. And if we're exhaling, we stop, we take a small inhale, and stop again till we feel discomfort, and then start exhaling again. So that increases the lung usage, and lung usage increase means increase of oxygen supply to our brain, unfolding the potential of the brain. One thing which is very helpful also to bring the mind to a steady position, Maharshi Patanjali says, Tasya Vachaka Pranava. Pranava is the universal sound Om. And it's just to be done as it's written in the word form. It's written A, O, and then there's a number 3 in between, and then Ma. So we stretch on the O 3 times longer than the Ma. And when we do that, just as we did in the beginning, we sense our own chanting. Be present with the vibrations running in throughout of the body. When we start with O, it starts with the belly button, the navel region, moves up the spine and goes to the brain. Let's do short practice, 3 times Om chanting, and observe our own chanting and the vibrations throughout the body. Just close the eyes, deep inhale, and while exhaling, we are going to do the Om chanting, focusing on our sound of the chanting and the vibrations of the chanting. Gently open the eyes. So when we do that, if we are connected to our own chanting, connected to the vibrations generated from the sound waves of our chanting, we are totally disconnected with the world, and we are present with ourselves, present with what we are doing. We are aware that we are doing the Om chanting. And I say this is the universal sound because when we wake up from bed, if we do a stretch out while yawning, just observe the sound that comes out of our mouth. Whether we be Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Chinese, black, white, brown, or whatever we be, it's always the one sound which will come out. That's why we say it's the universal sound, the sound of this universe. And this is so soothing. If we can't find any other way to silence the mind, to bring the mind to steadiness. So Maharishi Patanjali says, Tasya Vachaka Pranava, engage in japa. That is going to bring us to silence. Then he says, Tad japas tadartha bhavanam. For whatever other mantras you are doing in japa, just look at the meaning. Get the meaning running into your mind and translate those into real life. Like if we're doing chanting with Gayatri Mantra, remember it says, Dhyo yo naha prachodayat, praying for enlightenment of the mind. So we'll be able to gauge our level of chanting, because otherwise we are focusing on the rosary. What happens? Ye kab samapt hoga ji. It's as if a burden on our head, we need to finish with that. No, do the chanting with ease. Steady the mind. Bring the mind to steadiness. And that is the way forward. Learn also the causes of suffering. Maharishi Patanjali unfolds that. Parinam, tap, sanskar, dukkha, guna vritti, dukhair guna vritti virodhacha, dukham eva sarvam vivekina. Parinam, the consequences, like overeating, over drinking, indulgence in taste, smell, sight, hearing, and touch. At one point in time, शरीर जीर्ण हो जाएगा, शरीर जब जीर्ण हो जाएगा तो इन सब सुख को भोगने के लिए कैपेसिटी नहीं रहेगा तो हम दुखी हो जाएंगे. ताप, दुख, unforeseen circumstances can come. I'll just give you one example. Accidents happen on the road, and when you drive, somebody hits at your car. Often what we find is that drivers just come down, एक दूसरे को गाली देने लगते हैं. Instead of looking if there is bodily harm, if there is anybody to be rushed to for medical attention. So where are we going? We are living in this world, things happen, unforeseen events happen. If we learn to keep the mind cool, we shall not be fooled. I think that line comes from Rabindranath Tagore. Then sanskar dukh. Sanskar dukh is the consequences of imprints. We are used to things, and when things are no longer the same, we suffer. We were used to going outside. COVID came with the lockdowns, we were told to stay at home. That was sanskar dukh. So we need to learn the way that the more we live simple living, the more we'll be happy, the less we'll be unhappy. Then gun vritti virodha. This world is always changing in nature. And my standard of reference there is take the ripe apple. When you take the ripe apple shining, if you leave it in open air, it starts leaking. After a few days, it will shrivel. So the ripe red apple shining was Satvik Pradhan. After a few days in the open air, it starts shriveling. Activity has started. Now it's become Rajas Pradhan. Rajik is dominating. Then after another few days, starts leaking. The leachate, that is Tamsik Pradhan. And everything in this world would be changing. Look, that's a baby, born, as we say, innocent, growing, and after the phase of growth, maturity, then decay starts. So that's another way of learning of gun vritti virodha. So all these are causes of suffering. We needn't worry about them. Instead, if we are aware of them, we know how to mitigate them, then we'll reach that stage of Yoganushthanad shuddhikshaye jnana dipti viveka khyate. So by the anushthan of yoga, as we say, we are aware, fully aware, mindful of whatever we're doing at each step of life. Shuddhi, Shaye, Jnana, our level of knowledge will become pure. Deepti, that is going to provide us with insight, viveka. And with insight, we'll be able to move out of happiness. Let's understand yoga now in the context of the International Day of Yoga. We see so many names of yoga around the world. Yoga means to join, to unite. But why so many divisions in the name of yoga, especially in the name of Gita? 11 chapters are given, 11 titles of yoga. And some, instead of looking at the Gita as one integrated knowledge, people have taken only one branch of it and say, with that one particular part, I can reach my goal. So why the divisions? Just imagine Arjun on the battlefield with the problem. That was the situation or Vishad. I come back to Dr. Anjum and Dr. Girish Shah. And when he got the knowledge, he had the might to fight. But the problem in front of him, the emotional overcoming of Arjun, was the Vishad. Sri Krishna stood by giving him the knowledge of the Gita was knowledge. And if Arjun was not dedicated to the cause of dharma to fight for righteousness, if he had only the knowledge or only the might or only the dedication, the outcome of the Mahabharata would have been different. Or any combination, it's either knowledge and karma without dedication or karma and dedication without the knowledge. The outcome would have been different. So let's not divide yoga and look at it as an integral process. Otherwise, we'll end up in a mess like the fightings in the names of religion. On this solemn occasion of International Yoga Day, I would just make a humble appeal. Let's look at yoga as an integrated process. Then we'll reap the benefits, which are physiological, psychological, moral, therapeutic. We'll be able to manage the neurophysiological changes. Yoga will help us to balance the hormones, to balance our cardiorespiratory functions, to boost our immunity, to bring us to the tranquil and focused mind, to improve memory, to make us act with insight. Yoga will bring us enlightenment, and yoga will make us happy, well, physically, mentally, morally, spiritually, within, for ourselves, for our family, for our friends, for our relatives, and for the whole world. Yoga is the journey of the self, through the self to the self. In the words of Gita, karma kushalam, yoga is about living in the present, where and when we exist. Yoga is about looking for happiness and peace at the level of the mind, equilibrating the state of the mind, and it starts with the self. Yoga is the knowledge also, and in line with the Upanishad, Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamuduchyate. What it tells us is India has claimed no patent on yoga. It has left it for the international humanity, for the humanity at the international level. Meditation will bring us wisdom, insight, and enlightenment. What we need to do, we need to nurture the roots. Give water and fertilizers to the roots, not to the trunk, not to the leaves and flowers. When we nurture the roots, we'll have a beautiful trunk, we'll have a beautiful crown of leaves, flowers, and fruits. Yoga is not about what we can get from it. We'll get from yoga only when we let go of the sense of attachment to desires. We'll get rid of our ill health if we get rid of our attachment of the physical, mental, and social levels. Yoga is not about sharir ko sukhana or galana. It's about proper maintenance of this body, because this body is our vehicle to attain the destination of eternal bliss, moksha, mukti. Yoga is about rejuvenation, renewal, connecting to our own selves. Today is also Music Day, and the best of music are created in moments of silence when the mind is steady. I would just refer to Rezu Polukuti, who got the award for Slumdog Millionaire as the sound engineer. At the acceptance award, he said, I come from a country which teaches silence and silence and silence. It teaches silence before the chanting of Om, and more silence after the chanting of Om. And that is what enabled me to be creative and to bring that music to you today. So if I link it to Music Day, I would say yoga brings creativity within us. Creativity is possible in the moments of silence. If we understand yoga in simple terms, birth is yoga, union of the soul with the body, and death is viyog, separation of the soul from this body. So let's understand that. And one of the requirements of yoga is surrender. The picture comes to my mind when I talk about surrender, Arjun and Duryodhan going to seek help from Sri Krishna. Arjun was at the feet and Duryodhan was sitting at the head. He even forgot at that time that when somebody wakes up, this sight always goes forward towards the feet. So जब अकड़ते हैं तो उखड़ जाएंगे, झुकेंगे तो बच जाएंगे. Yoga is about samarpan. I'll be concluding now. In the words of Sri Narendra Modi ji, who brought yoga to the international level, otherwise it would have been the reverse. The Western world would have come to teach us yoga. Yoga अनुशासन है, समर्पण है, और इसका पालन पूरे जीवन भर करना होता है. It's not only on the mat, it's on day-to-day life. Yoga is rog mukti through bhog mukti. That is also the word of Sri Narendra Modi ji. Yoga for all and all for yoga. Remember, yoga will bring us to that situation where we'll understand prevention is not only better, but also cheaper than cure. Yoga leads us to be wise before the event and not after the event. That's insight. Thank you. And thank you for your attention. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be in your midst. And thank you to all the eminent personalities. Wish you all well and safe journey on the path of yoga. Dhanyavad. Namaste.
Thank you, Acharya ji. Thank you very much for your world of wisdom. You know, योग दर्शन से लेकर गीता और मॉडर्न टाइम तक आपने बहुत ही सुंदर व्याख्यान दिया. And from now, if I taking a cue from your wisdom, yoga is a holistic system within itself, where the mind and the body act in unison and get completely rejuvenated. As physical postures, breathing exercises, and meditations help in the overall well-being of an individual. It could be understanding ourselves better, figuring out our weakness, learning to keep the optimism level high. As we navigate through the lows, let's remember to make the best use of this period. So thank you very much once again. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. Now, every suffering state can become bugs that can corrupt the system of mind. We need to repair this situation immediately before the whole mind system crashes. To uninstall suffering program from mind, it needs a greater power or a meditation. Our next speaker is Dr. Nina Budyska from Department of Indology, University of Wrocław, Poland. She is the assistant professor in the humanities with specialization in Indian philosophy. She is the director of the postgraduate studies of classical yoga and researcher in the field of yoga and Sanskrit philosophy. So she is going to enlighten us with the topic meditations during isolation. So Dr. Nina, namaste, pranam. Can you?
Good morning, everybody. Am I heard well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
In
the beginning, I would like to thank you to all the organizers for this beautiful celebration of International Yoga Day. 2 days ago, we celebrated this day in my city, in Wrocław. So we did around 2 hours of yoga, divided into 10 sessions, together with 108 Surya Namaskar. So we are very happy that we have also this beautiful event, this beautiful tradition in Poland. So yes, this year, during this COVID pandemic season, was very difficult for me because I lost my mother. I don't have father since many years. So at once I become isolated, even from myself, from my family tradition, from my kula, I can say in Sanskrit, because I don't have brothers, sisters, I don't have grandparents. So eventually I became alone. So I took this, I can even say, so I took this opportunity to find the mean of liberated ourselves through yoga. So I took myself as an object of investigation, my chitta. So my mind with my heart and with my body, of course. So yes, so I would like to show you my path to from yoga to yoga through yoga. How to make this how to make this process of reintegration union through yoga using yoga. But firstly, I would like to thank you for Professor Girschha, because he said some beautiful words. He said that when we are saying I am helpful, it's on the level of our manas, of our mind. And when we are saying I look for help, this is our buddhi, this is our intelligence, who or which is seeking for the answer. So this is very beautiful. And also Acharya Brahmdeo Mohanlal said us that we have to be yogi these days, because world needs us as yogis, or yoginis for women, of course. So I think this is very important now during these days. So during this year, my main concern was my own dealing with dukkha, of this universal pain, this universal, how would say, yes, pain, this universal dukkha, sarvam dukkha. Everything is dukkha, as many Indian masters said. Even Maharishi Patanjali or of course Buddha, sarvam dukkham, everything is painful, because everything is changeable, is full of change. So now in psychology or psychiatry, we use term trauma. We are traumatized by this isolation, by COVID. We are very traumatized. So maybe now we can use the term trauma, not pain, not, because pain can be passenger, and trauma, this is something which is quite stable in us. So I was dealing during almost this 12 months with my own trauma, and I look for yoga means to liberate myself. So my first two questions was how to calm my mind or soul through yoga, because it was totally impossible for me. From day by phone call, I get this message that my mother is dead. So it was totally shocked for me. I was shocked. 2 or 3 days before I talked to my mother, and then her neighbor phoned me that my mother is dead. So I was shocked. I was freezed. I couldn't make any asana. I couldn't make any pranayama. I couldn't make any dhyana. But I believed, and I still believe, in power of yoga. So I make this inner inquiry, how to use yoga wisdom, yoga philosophy, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, even some subtle level of dhyana, in order to be yoga yukta in feminine form, yoga yukta for masculine, of course, but yoga yukta for feminine. So this was my first question, and second was how to calm my pain, and how to stop constant rumination, because my manas was ruminating constantly. So how to stop this? I couldn't use dhyana. It was like we see a angry child, and when we say to this baby, calm yourself, it's not working. This baby needs what? Needs a hug. Needs something something which emotional, not rational, like calm yourself. When baby is angry, this is not working. And third question, it was, can it yoga be still useful in this time? Can it yoga, this ancient wisdom, maybe originated in India in order to only to ascetic people? And what about this time? Is it yoga still useful? Is it yoga still relevant? Of course, I felt yes. So how to redefine yoga in order to be helpful in our modern time. In the Western, as you know, we have many schools of yoga, like Ashtanga yoga of Pataphi Jois, Iyengar yoga, Vinyasa Krama yoga, Yin yoga, Hot yoga, Bikram yoga, many so-called yogas. We have many psychologists. We have many drugs, of course, but we don't have masters. We don't have people who realized how to get rid over the pain, how to get rid over dukkha. We have many schools, we have many books, but we don't have that much person who are realized. So this was my problem. I had only yoga scriptures. I have only this big literature of Upanishad, of Mahabharata, of Patanjala Yoga Shastra, of Hatha Yoga, Pradipika, etc., etc. But how to make it live in myself? How? When my mat, my yoga asanas were blocked. How? So, in order to answer to these questions, I want to firstly read you the little citation about dukkha, took from Sankhya Karika first. So we read it in Sanskrit: dukkha traya abhighatach jijñasatat ubhakhatake hetau, which means from the torment of the threefold causes of pain there arise a desire for inquiry, jijñasa, into the means of terminating it. So we see dukkha and how to terminate it. So this is when we see it, we have this inquiry. So this is for Sankhya Karika first. As you know, in 2014, if my memory is right, by a National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health in USA, National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, yoga is inscribed into CAM, C-A-M, Complementary and Alternative Medicine. More to complementary, because it means that yoga is a medicine who becomes evidence-based and research-based science complementary to the heart medicine, that we can use yoga together with meditation, etc., etc., as a helping tool where normal drugs, normal medicine cannot be useful. And this is evidence-based. So in 2014, yoga is it's understood as a form of CAM, complementary medicine. And within this, as mind-body interventions, this is a term, mind-body interventions, which means based of belief that our mind is able to affect our body and vice versa. How our body, how our physical practice can affect our mind and how to use it. So I would like to also read you a beautiful definition of yoga, took from National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health. Yoga is an ancient and complex practice rooted in Indian philosophy. It began as a spiritual practice, but has become popular as a way of promoting physical and mental well-being. So I think it's a quite beautiful definition, which unites yoga tradition with modern day medicine. So how to use yoga, how to use this beautiful and very powerful tradition within medical areas. And now yoga is used also nowadays into psychiatry. We can read many good researches in the field of psychology and psychiatry. I love especially one author, Dr. Mithu Storoni. She came from a yogic tradition family, and he has a PhD in the neuro-ophthalmology. He wrote a book, Stress Proof, how to use yoga within medical area. how we and she translated this sometimes difficult biological language into normal language. And she said to us that that stress activates our sympathetic nervous system, who is responsible for stress, for trauma, etc., etc. So she shown how to use asanas, pranayam, etc., to activate parasympathetic nervous system, who activates states of relaxation, etc., etc. So Dr. Mithu Storoni. Then there are two very famous psychiatrists from USA, I think, Professor Viktor Frankl, Peter Levine, who use psychosomatic practices like yoga or meditation to heal people with trauma, to heal traumatized people. And then we have also Simon Haas. Recently, he wrote a beautiful book, Yoga in the Dark Night of the Soul. Yoga in the Dark Night of the Soul, the secret teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Simon Haas, Yoga and the Dark Night of the Soul, 2018. And also a Polish professor wrote a book, Yoga Nidra. How to use deep relaxation according to Indian teaching, here Pratyahara especially, to activate our parasympathetic nervous system. So this beautiful book, but in Polish language, Yoga Nidra, dream of yoga, of course. Here like Pratyahara, here we use Pratyahara as this dream. So yes, so now I would like to read two sutras from for first book of Yoga Sutras, 140 in Sanskrit. Dukkha daurmanasya anga meja yatva shvasa prashvasa vikshepa sahabhuvaha. In English, sorrow, dejection, restlessness of body, inhalation and exhalation arise from the distraction, vikshepaha. And these vikshepa are in Sanskrit vyadhisthana, samshaya, pramada, alasya, avirati, behranti, darshana, labha, bhumikatva, anavasthi, tatattvani, chitta, vikshepaste, antaryaya, which means sickness or dukkha, sickness, incompetence, doubt, delusion, sloth, non-abstention, erroneous conception, non-attainment of any yogic stage, and instability to stay in a yogic state. These vikshepas of the mind are the impediments. So my first and my main question was how to get rid of this vikshepas. How to get rid if I couldn't use asanas, pranayamas, and dhyana or dharanas, etc., etc. I couldn't. My body and my mind said no. So I use one thing. I use prakriti. As of course, I have my own prakriti as my sharira together with my mind, of course, but we have also prakriti as the nature, as mother nature, yes, as this Shakti mother, or universal energy, of course, prana, and on mind level, breathing, process of breathing, but used not as a technique, as a control of breath, but as a relaxation in the womb of the mother nature. So I walked a a lot in the parks, in the forests, in my city, because I lived in a green area, so I have a lot of forest. And then I emerged in a known feeling, states of mind, as if my samskaras came to the surface, but the surface was completely unknown for me. Suddenly, I had to face with something which was totally unknown, as if some samskaras came into existence. So I decided to take care of my prakriti first. I couldn't follow any guidance of an external personal guru. So what could I do? I follow my internal master, my internal Ishvara, my internal guide, like Antaryamin. Yes, we have this beautiful term in Sanskrit. So I follow this internal voice, maybe Buddhi, maybe somebody more, I don't know, but these phrases help me a lot. So I was trying to calm myself, my chitta, by slowing down brief process in the nature, normally by walking. Then I realized that I have to change my lifestyle totally. I am vegetarian, and I was, but I had to change something more. And I was thinking about many stories took from the Mahabharata. Many stories, many heroes who had to face their dukkha. First, of course, it was Arjuna. Arjuna, for me, when he was in the Kurukshetra, maybe he thought, I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight. I am terrified. I don't want to fight because I don't want to be the cause of the death of my cousins, of my masters, of anyone. I don't want to fight. I don't want to cause death. So I think he chose bhakti as a union with God in order to get rid of this fear of his dukkha. Then after this great war, still in the battlefield, was Yudhishthira, dialoguing or talking with Bhishma, yes, this guru, his guru. Bhishma was dying, but still he had some very powerful story, very powerful philosophy or yoga message to translate, to transmit to king, to Yudhishthira. But Yudhishthira said, I don't want to rule because I am guilty. I have blood on my hand. I don't want to rule. So Bhishma, by the word of Sri Krishna, extolled moksha dharma message. And then this moksha dharma message put in the 12th book of the Mahabharata called Shanti Parvan is starting with a beautiful story of ascetic called Medhavin. And he told, I don't want to live. I don't want to live because I am alone. My only friends, my camel, my Ushtra is dead. I don't have anybody. This beautiful animal was his only friend. So I don't want to live. So how to get rid of this strong emotion? And Bhishma here used tapas as paramodharma, as paramo moksha dharma, as the highest dharma. And tapas here is understood as ekagra, or now we can say dharana, the union of manas, senses, and something which is more, some kind of Atman, maybe. Then I thought about Shiva. Shiva, after death of Sati, Maybe he thought, I am broken without Sati. And then Parvati, maybe she thought, I am nothing without my beloved God, without my Shiva, who don't see me, who is merged in the meditation in the Himalayas, and he doesn't want to me as his wife. So firstly, Shiva was broken by Sati, and then Parvati, of course, Sati's incarnation was broken by Shiva's rejection, or Shiva's non-reaction on her love. So they used, the gods of yoga, they used dhyana or sannyasa as a means to get to liberate their self. So I had these beautiful stories in my mind throughout these years, and suddenly it was from day to day, I could enter into yoga nidra, into this deep state of relaxation, using some pranayamas like Bhastrika, like Viloma, and like normal Kumbhaka state with this ratio inhalation, hold, exhalation, hold. And but it took me some months, and then this Saturday, 3 days ago, I finally I finally was able to practice asanas. Finally, so it was something very liberating for me after all these years, using yoga wisdom, using yoga stories, beautiful stories, using then pratyaharas, and at the beginning using the energy of Prakriti, of Mother Prakriti. I lost my mother in her physical form, but I could use or connect myself Yoga Yukta with Prakriti, like universal mother. So yes, so I think that I could stop at this moment, because this is all I can say. Or maybe I can say that in Western culture, now it's very important to use all this yoga like asanas, pratyaharas, pranayamas, and dhyanas to help people get rid of traumas, of isolation, of some mental, how would say, stiffness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Meena. The world is going through unprecedented time these days. You have shared your personal experience. You have gone through the tough time. So all I can say that you are the best ambassador of yoga for us right now. So you touch the various aspects of yoga to overcome your grief, tough time, the meditations that essentially spark the cultivation of awareness. And it can help to eliminate that lost feeling that you might be experiencing, since it focuses the brain on the movement. So being present with your immediate surrounding is often much more comforting than focusing on the stressful outside world. So as quoted by Buddha, it is better to conquer yourself than to win a thousand's battle. Then the victory is yours. It cannot be taken from you. So thank you very much for sharing your views. And once again, you are the true ambassador of yoga.
Thank you. Fania Bhaji.
Dr. Anju ma'am, now if I am missing anything, otherwise I'll let go direct to vote of thanks.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Just I want to say my very emotional note and emotional blessings and emotional support to Dr. Meena. we have all heard. That's a great loss, of course. And, we all are there with you, Dr. Neela, and anytime you can, contact me. If you need any support, we will be there for you. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for also sharing how in this grieving period we have to hold ourselves, we have to conquer this situation, and we have to lead the life ahead, motivating others also. Thank you so much. You may go ahead and propose vote of thanks, Dr. Rajendra.
Thank you, ma'am. So once again, pranam and namaste to one and all. I, Rajinder, on behalf of Deshbandhu College, University of Delhi, and the entire International Yoga Festival team, let me call it Fraternity of Yoga here together, and on my own behalf, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all. I profusely thank our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Balram Pani, Dean of Colleges, University of Delhi, for having spared your valuable time to join us in our online International Day of Yoga Festival. So your address was insightful and one that inspired hope, optimism, and pride in all of us. My deepest gratitudes to your gracious acceptance of our invitations and adding charm to the occasion. My gratitudes to Shri R.N. Vats, Chairman, Chief Patrons, for your presence today. So let me take this opportunity to thank you for your support, which has always been forthcoming. We hope we would continue to have your support and blessing as we endeavors to bring transformations through people's life. We are grateful to our worthy principal, Professor Rajiv Agarwal, for all words of wisdom that radiates a source of energy within us. We will ever remain grateful to you. Your presence here represents an emotional as well as academic connect we have always felt when you have been around and constant source of inspirations for our staff and students. I extend my thanks to Honorable Acharya Girish Jha from Arizona, US, who very kindly accepted our humble request to grace today's webinar. Your words of wisdom provides the much needed encouragements to the participant, as present time have marked much fear and worry, much sadness and despair, and much anger and aggravations. I am humbled and grateful as your address would serve as beacon lights to develop the mind over time and cultivate mental immunity and heal negativity in the depth of our mind and heart. Your presence graced us with your thought-provoking address, setting a perfect platform for this occasion. For all that, our humble and sincere thanks. Our thanks goes to Dr. Nina Budzysła, Department of Indology, University of Wrocław, Poland, who very kindly accepted our humble request to grace today's session with your much relevant topic, meditations during isolation. Your august presence provides the much needed encouragement to the participant, scholars, and students engaged in furthering the horizons of knowledge and learning. Your words of wisdom quiet the mind and then soul will speak. Learn to be calm and always be happy and concentrate the mind on the present moment. For all that, our humble and sincere thanks. We thank to Acharya Brahmadev Mukundlal ji, who have also very kindly accepted our humble request to grace today's session with your topic, holistic approach to wellness through yoga. In honoring him, we feel honored. I am sure your address would serve as beacon lights to deliver the wisdom of yoga for all the participants. Acharya ji, thank you very much for a very engaging and interactive session. Our gratitudes and sincere thanks to respected teachers, yoga gurus, scholars, yoga practitioners, and participants all across the world. We feel proud and thank you for making us feel happy with your presence throughout the webinar. I extend my thanks to Dr. Anjum Padiyal, not only moderating this session, but all your hard work and dedications, the efforts you put in leading our team. For all that, thank you so much. We also extend our thanks to Dr. Aditya Saxena, convener, IQAC, Dr. Monica Bajaj, for always being at the forefront of every activity. You really deserve this token of appreciation for offering to work for more hours. Thank you very much. The silent work behind the scenes deserve a special thanks. My sincere apologies to those whom inadvertently I missed out and who made no stone unturned to make this webinar successful. So thank you very much, and wish you all the best. Whatever you do, wherever you go, you find happiness over there. So thank you very much. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
Thank you to all. And yoga is our way of life. So let's begin our new life, new journey after this horrifying pandemic. All the best to all of you. May you all lead a very healthy and happy life. Thank you so much.